Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cosmically Curious with your host, Gemini Jess. We are just going to go ahead and dive right into it. My original plan was to talk about the Aquarius Full Moon last week and how big and important that was for myself, as well as it seems like the collective experience needed this Aquarius Full Moon, or a lot was brought to light for people during this time. And I think we're going to just dive right into this week and pull in the aftermath of the Aquarius full moon and that Jupiter Cazimi, because it's really playing into what I'm going to be talking the most about today, which is the eclipse season that is coming up. Now, before I dive into the eclipse season, the energies there, and what we can expect, this week, astrologically speaking, is actually rather quiet, which I think is good. It feels like this in-between moment before we have the, eclipse season is starting this week, and it's like the calm before the storm, because we had that big, bright full moon. I even saw it last night driving home, and she's not full anymore, but she's still big and she's orange, and it was so beautiful to see her so clearly and so largely in my night sky. So I am really, really seeing this week as a point of prep work, I guess you could say, for what this eclipse season is going to bring for all of us. We don't have very many interplanetary transits happening that I deem necessary to talk about. We do have two planets moving signs, though, which is always a felt energetic shift within our collective, and maybe not always as personally felt unless you have personal planets in these signs. Venus moves into Libra on Thursday, where she'll be for 5 or 6 weeks. And Venus is at home here, right? Venus and Libra are one and the same. Venus rules Libra. I feel like there's going to be a microscope on our relational dynamics. Venus always brings out these dynamics within relationship, but when it's in Libra, it's even more aware. There's an attunement to the dynamics that you have within one-on-one relationships. So whether that's a romantic partner, a friend, or a coworker, the dynamics are going to be showing themselves. Venus in Libra is ultimately a pretty gentle transit, I guess I would say. However, Libra is a cardinal sign, and so Libra, as the representation of fall in the northern hemisphere, there is a sense of movement forward or shift that Libra does bring. So even though it's this sign that is ruled by artistry and beauty and balance and a sense of softness, it's still a leader in the zodiac. It still knows when to take charge if it's not getting in its own way in its head. Libra is ruled by the scales. It represents this idea of balance and harmony in all areas of your life. And so I think there's an opportunity here to move towards a more diplomatic thinking within your relationships. Where can you negotiate a little bit more? Where do you have to meet in the middle a little bit more? One of the things that I have recently realized about people with Libra placements in their chart is that they are always contemplating. It's like, and I have a Libra moon, so I do this. I also think another great way to put this is people with Libra in their chart, like I do this as a Libra moon, and my old astrology mentor, who is a Libra Mercury, she always does this too, and I've seen it with other Libras. We'll say something, and then we'll be like, well, I didn't mean it like that, or, oh, I don't know if that's the right word, or, well, I don't want you to take it this way. So it's like Libra will say something, or they will act in a way, but then they almost take a step backwards, because there is still that evolutionary intention with the Libra frequency of balance and harmony and not shaking things up and off kilter. We need that to be balanced. So that is the energy that we are going to be seeing within our relationships over the next 6 weeks or so. There's also a theme here around where you over accommodate people. I think in love and in both platonic and romantic love, we have to be able to accommodate for the people in our life. If we're always doing what we want, if we're always being selfish, like that doesn't do anything for a relationship. However, you need to know when you should stop accommodating and when you need to put yourself first or set some boundaries. So this idea of the boundary between I and we, or me and us, and where that boundary blurs. And so the themes that we experience with this Venus in Libra, it's interesting, they will be coming back around because we do have a Venus retrograde happening from October 3rd to November 12th. Is that right? October 3rd through November 14th. So it is going to go retrograde at 8 degrees Scorpio on October 3rd. So we have some time. We have a few months before this Venus retrograde comes in, but I want to bring it into your awareness that the things that start to come up while Venus is in Libra, when it's going to square with Saturn and Neptune and Aries, these things that are going to be showing up in your relationship are going to continue to play out, especially because we also have the eclipse season in August. If you can move through uncomfortability now, the month of August in through most of September, I won't get that far ahead, but if you can really work through some things in relationship, whether that's relationship to yourself or how you show up for other people, ideally by the time Venus retrograde comes along in October, your life won't completely blow up in front of your eyes. Because Venus retrograde, I hate to say it, but relationships either completely fall apart or they grow. If you go into Venus retrograde with cracks or leaks in a relationship, and I'm speaking mostly to romantic right now, it will most likely not survive Venus retrograde, or you need to work very, very hard to truly move through any sort of blockers or conflict that comes up during this time. So I'm not going to talk too much more about the Venus retrograde, but I do want to bring it into your awareness because it is coming. And we are going to come out of eclipse season at the middle of September. Like, whoa, what just happened? And then we've got a few weeks break, and then Venus retrograde is going to come in and do the damn thing on us. So, winds of change here, right? And this Aquarius full moon that we had last week really feels like a new beginning, because full moons often represent new beginning. It's not about setting new intentions in a new beginning way, but it's a way of like, here are these things that have been brought to my attention, now what am I going to do with it? I still think full moons are kind of a beginning in of itself, because where there's an ending, there's a beginning. We're constantly spiraling, wider and farther up into the ether. So that's my input on that. And to give you some perspective, the last Venus retrograde was about 1.5 years ago. It happens every 1.5 years or so. Was March 1st through April 12th in Aries and Pisces. I want you to think back to what was happening all of March, middle of early April, and just be curious about what was going on in your relational world. Also, your relationship to finances and money, because that's also Venus and self-worth and your value system. But let's just be real. Venus retrograde is very much going to show up in people's relationships, because that is one of the biggest parts of our life, and we're very intertwined with the people in our life. But in the middle of March last year, I won a giveaway to go to Costa Rica for a women's retreat, and I knew that if I went on that retreat, that I was probably going to have to come back and break up with my boyfriend at the time. And I think I got back end of March, and then we were broken up by the end of April. So my relationship last year did not survive Venus retrograde, but I don't think it was supposed to. And now I'm in this new relationship. We're still under a year of being together. And I'm very curious to see how this Venus retrograde shows up, because I'm not in a place where I'm feeling like he's not right for me. Like, truthfully, I was in that place last year when I went to Costa Rica, where I was feeling that there was this resistance within me that wasn't going to shake. And it wasn't like, yeah, I won't get into it. But now it's different. Like, there's no resistance for me within this new relationship. But I know Venus retrograde is still going to do its work on us. We'll be at almost a year of dating when Venus retrograde comes. Actually, yeah, like November 5th will be a year. So that'll definitely stretch us. And I'm excited to see where that goes and what comes of it. I am not afraid. I am never afraid of the astrology, but I'm very curious to see how it actualizes and moves through my life personally, as well as in my one-on-one relationships. So on top of that, on Thursday, we also have the Sun in Leo trine Saturn in Aries. This just feels like all the hard work that you've been doing might actually start to feel like it's paying off, right? Saturn is really about showing us where things are limited, or it can feel very sticky, but with the trine, ultimately that is supporting the sun here and your identity and your creative self-expression. So really knowing what you need to do, what actions you need to take to honor your authentic expression and what lights you up in that way. Saturn is in Aries and Sun is in Leo. It's like, hey, let's not take everything so seriously all the time. Let's be a little less rigid, Saturn, and just have some fun. Like, enjoy the process. I always say Saturn and Capricorn energy is the goat climbing up the mountain, but you have to stop at the mountain at different points to look at the beautiful view. Continue to work hard, do what needs to be done, but it doesn't have to be so serious all the time. It isn't always the end of the world if we don't accomplish something. Leo and Aries as fire signs are also very confident. Fire naturally takes up space. It naturally has an energy that people are drawn to. What is really possible when we are confident in ourselves, in what we desire, Aries, in our authentic expression, Leo, and also practicing patience and discipline, Saturn, around those things, rather than burning full steam ahead and taking a step back, not taking things too seriously, but being a real sober adult with yourself around what needs to be done to get where you are trying to go. The only other thing that I want to touch on this week in terms of transitory happenings is Mercury moves into Leo. And, you know, I don't think I'm going to talk about that too much, because we have already been talking about the Leo energy like crazy, and Mercury in Leo is just going to enhance that even more, truly. Yeah, we're all exploring our ability to express ourselves, to be our full selves. It does come into a square with Chiron and Taurus on Monday, on the following Monday though. So it'll be a little bit of a hit to us, I think, because we're coming out of this Aquarius full moon. The week is overall pretty quiet, and then right at the end of the weekend into the following Monday, Mercury comes into that square with Chiron in Taurus, and it's going to once again bring up the sensitivity that we feel in terms of Leo energy, which is also where the South Node is. Chiron and the South Node are not the same thing, but to me they bring up the same stuff sometimes, truly, because it's like being able to express who we are, being able to express these more vulnerable, personal parts of ourselves that feel really scary. And then when we don't get that recognition or that validation that we need from somebody, how that feels in our body. Chiron and Taurus is very body focused. It's very physical and somatic. And Leo is very expressive and out there. Let's say you are doing something that you love and you feel so good doing it, and you do not get what you were hoping for back from a friend or somebody. that stings and it hurts, and it can make us feel unwanted and unloved. And so that is going to be coming up. This is already a theme that we're seeing with the Aquarius Full Moon, with Leo South Node. This is all the theme in so many ways over the next year, truly. And so we are really being initiated into this nodal shift this month. So now I want to talk about eclipse season, because we need to. It's important. And before we dive into the Aquarius Leo archetype energetic that I've already been talking about, I want to talk about what exactly eclipses are. And I made this Instagram post a while ago that I want to find, because it is literally word for word and will be very helpful. Okay, I made this post on March 21st, 2024. So it was a really long time ago. Maybe I'll share it on my story. But it says, the eclipse breakdown. It's so cute to see my old post. So the eclipse breakdown and the relationship between the sun, the moon, and the earth. So there are two kinds of eclipses. There's a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. The lunar eclipse is when the earth is directly between the sun and the moon, and the earth's shadow falls on the moon and dims it. The solar eclipse is when the moon is between the earth and the sun, and the moon casts its shadow on earth. There are 2 to 5 eclipses a year, and they follow the archetypal cycles. In 2023, so long ago, we closed out the 2-year cycle surrounding the Taurus-Scorpio axis and welcomed in the new 2-year Aries-Libra cycle. We will experience a few more Aries-Libra eclipses before moving into the Pisces-Virgo cycles, which is where we are ending now and having the last one in February of 2027. These eclipses involve the lunar nodes, which astrologically represent our soul's evolutionary path. It's a very energetically heavy time, and you may feel pressure and like everything is sped up. Wow, 2 years ago, Jess was so smart. I love this. So here's an example, right? We have the lunar eclipse here, okay? And we have the solar eclipse here, okay? So lunar is when the earth is directly between the sun and the moon. Sun and the moon, earth, the sun and the moon. And solar is when the moon is between the earth and the sun. Right, okay. Look guys, I've been doing this for a long time and I still get confused by this stuff, because let's face it, I am not an astronomer. Okay, so that was it of my post that I made a long time ago. And in my evolutionary astrology certification, the nodes are one of the foundational pieces here. So they are very important. Think about in ancient times when people used to see these eclipses happen in the sky, whether they were full or partial, they literally thought the world was ending. They're like, where did my sun go? What? We have the sun and the moon every day, and now all of a sudden it's gone. So eclipse season really does represent historically not a bad omen, because I don't think it's bad, but it is an omen, I would say, and I hope I'm using that word correctly. Eclipses, since the beginning of time, have coincided with very big political shifts and happenings, very much connected to natural disasters as well. And in our most internal world, in our immediate environment, for us, it's really represented as these times in our life where we are faced with these decisions and these big things that can sometimes come out of nowhere or that you don't quite understand in the moment. Eclipse seasons, I always tell people that you're not necessarily meant to make decisions. You know, just listen, just flow, just be with it. If you have a journaling practice, journal, and just really be aware of what is coming up during this time, because it is important. And eclipse season always, always, always sneaks up on me. I don't always know what's going to come about, and something always does. And so I don't know what's happening for me in August, I don't know. You guys will go on the journey with me, and I'm going on the journey with you. But eclipse season is not something to be afraid of. There's going to be a lot of discussion online about it with the way our world is. There's going to be so many headlines. Granted, there always are headlines now, but with it on the Aquarius Leo axis, we have Leo in the south node and Aquarius in the north node. So wherever you have Aquarius in your chart is where you are going to be pulled into new experiences. Now, whether or not you take them is up to you. The south node in Leo, wherever you have Leo in your chart, is really going to represent where it's time to release and let go of some things. And if we think of it on a more categorized energetic level, collectively speaking, over the next 18 months, we are all going to be moving through our own relationship to power and self-expression and performance and the need for validation, the need for recognition, where we manipulate things to get what we want, and moving into Aquarius, being who you are, individuating as a person, and also a theme here, more collectively speaking, around community versus selfhood, and where we can come together as a local community, a global community. And it's that like power to the people, like I talked about last week. So the eclipse on August 12th is in Leo, and the eclipse on August 28th is in Pisces. So we are now overlaying this new theme with an old theme of Pisces Virgo energetics that we have been playing with for the last 18 months. And I talked about that energy last week. So this really is a very, very interesting time, and I believe to my bones that the Aquarius Full Moon illuminated last week everything for us that we are going to be working on over the next 18 months. Now, that will shift and change based on the action that you take and the ability to gather insight and move through self-inquiry to ideally grow and evolve through this time. But it is not comfortable. Eclipse season is never comfortable. What sets you apart is what you do with the uncomfiness, okay? So I know that y'all are going to be feeling this. Even if you don't think you are yet, I know you're going to be. My books for August are open. I will open my books for September early and may open up some more space in August because I know y'all are gonna need me, because I'm gonna need me. Let's face it. That's really what I wanted to talk about. Eclipse season officially starts. Based on what my mentor has taught me, there's a few different ways to look at this, that when the sun is within 18 degrees of the nodes. So today the sun is at 10 degrees Leo and the south node is at 29 degrees Leo. So that means that it has to be, I'm not going to do the math, I'm bad at math, but it's going to, eclipse season officially starts this week, the 3rd or the 4th, and then ends September 3rd, based on the 18 degree difference here. I just think that we are buckling up together for a month that will bring out shifts and changes, and it might be uncomfortable, it might bring up a lot of shit, but that's life, baby. Before I close out for the day, I want to go back and look at the Eclipse Masterclass that I did. I don't actually even remember when I did this, but it was at the beginning of, so it was about 18 months ago, yeah, because it was at the beginning of the Pisces Virgo eclipses. So we're coming into the end of that. We have this one in the end of August, and then we have one more in February, I believe. But I want to read you the themes and my predictions, and we're gonna see how accurate they are. And they are, I already know it. So let's see here. Oh, here's like a good image too. Maybe I'll actually post this here. But this is what it looks like. So we have the north and the south node here, and the nodes themselves represent the point in the sky. Oh my gosh, I look so creepy back here. They represent the point in the sky where the sun and the moon cross paths. So you can see here we have the moon and the sun and then the earth in the middle. So that's what they represent. They're not planetary bodies, they're just points in the sky, like I have said previously. We're just going to dive into this little masterclass I did because I think it'll be good information for some of you. There is this sense of evolution through the eclipses that we experience. It fast tracks us, if we let it, to this new reality and to a new, it's kind of quantum leapy, I would say. I feel like, I think some people would say eclipse season, you can quantum leap. It can lead to life-changing events that are within you or without you. Sometimes they are very internal, and sometimes there is an external force that changes or shifts within your life, whether that's like a job, a breakup, a baby, or, you know, something like that. My mentor said this once, and it really stuck with me, that the universe will put the truth directly in front of your face during eclipse season. And what you do with that truth is completely up to you. It's really important during this time to tune into what you really want, what matters most to you, because that's ultimately where the eclipses are pushing us. It's pushing us towards the things that we deeply crave and desire that sometimes might actually be a little bit uncomfortable to name. So I have a slide here that's talking about what does this Virgo Pisces eclipse cycle mean. And I'm going to go ahead and read it off to you. And you can decide if what I wrote down happened or you witnessed it with your own eyes. A rise in collective compassion and unity, empathy and humanitarianism, holistic healing and wellness, faith in higher principles outside of modern medicine. Traditional healthcare is facing criticism for being too structured and data-driven, and there is a demand for more integrative approaches. Duh. More people will be interested in spirituality, astrology, creativity, art, mindfulness practices, and energy work, as well as religion in general will become more of a conversation, which is very true. A rise of mis and disinformation, illusion, and other challenges around truth because Pisces rules fantasy and deceit. I think we see that a lot with our social media and the rise of AI and literally not knowing what's true anymore. Blurred boundaries, metaphorically and literally, in politics and immigration. The collective has no boundary. Less escapist tendencies like addiction and perfectionism, more nervous system regulation, coming back into the body and being okay with feeling like crap. Workplace changes, deconstructing toxic productivity, cultivating more work-life balance, awareness to how chronic stress, overworking, and losing touch with spirituality, God, or source, whatever you want to call it, is affecting our health. So that was my prediction, and I think that was pretty freaking right. Let me know what you guys think. That is all I have for you today. Happy August, happy post-Aquarius full moon, happy Mercury in Libra, happy Mercury in Leo and Venus in Libra. Happy eclipse season as of the middle of this week. And buckle up, babes, because we're going in. And if you need support, you know where to find me. My books are open, and trust me, I got you. I hope you all have a great week, and as always, stay curious.